Before Britney Spears was a person, she was a project. Before she had a voice, she had a market value. And before the world watched her fall apart, it celebrated the machine that pushed her there. Britney Jean Spears was born in 1981 in Kentwood, Louisiana, a small town where big dreams rarely survive. From a very young age, it was obvious she wasn't ordinary. She could sing, she could dance, she could perform. But talent alone doesn't create a global icon. Systems do. At just 8 years old, Britney was already auditioning relentlessly. Rejections didn't stop the process, they refined it. She was trained early to take no silently and try again harder. When she joined the Mickey Mouse Club, she wasn't just learning choreography. She was learning discipline, obedience, and how to perform under pressure. Childhood, as most people experience it, never really happened. By the time Baby One More Time was released in 1998, Britney wasn't being introduced to the world. She was being launched. The song wasn't just catchy, it was calculated. The schoolgirl aesthetic wasn't accidental, it was engineered. Innocence mixed with sexuality. Relatable but provocative. Safe but profitable. She was 16. Let that sit. While the world debated whether the image was appropriate, nobody questioned the bigger issue. Who decided this for her? The answer is uncomfortable, because it wasn't Britney. Her rise was meteoric. Albums shattered records. Tours sold out globally. She became one of the most photographed women on earth before she was legally allowed to drink. But here's what fame hides very well. Control increases as success increases. Every step of Britney's career was managed, scheduled, optimized. Interviews weren't conversations. They were interrogations disguised as entertainment. Male hosts openly asked her about her virginity, her body, her purity. These clips still exist.
But you hope that you'll remain a virgin until you get married.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom always told me, once you have sex with a guy that, you're with or whatever, it's like so many more emotions are involved and everything gets like, crazy.
They weren't controversial then. They were ratings gold. The audience laughed. Executives cashed checks. Britney smiled, because smiling was part of the job. By her early 20s, Britney was no longer just a singer. She was a global economic asset. Hundreds of people depended on her output. Labels, promoters, media outlets, brand partners. When that many people profit from one person, something dangerous happens. That person stops being allowed to break. Personal struggles weren't treated as warning signs. They were inconveniences. Breakups became headlines. Emotional exhaustion became punchlines. Privacy disappeared completely. Even motherhood didn't slow the machine down. After giving birth, Britney was photographed relentlessly, mocked for her appearance, and judged for every decision she made as a new mother. The same media that had built her image now began tearing it apart. Not because she had failed, but because watching her struggle sold even better. And still, she worked, tours, albums, appearances, because the system had taught her one thing very clearly. Your worth is your performance. By 2006 and 2007, the pressure was no longer hidden. Paparazzi followed her constantly, hundreds of cameras flashing inches from her face. There was no off switch, no silence, no recovery. When Britney showed signs of distress, the narrative shifted instantly. She wasn't overworked. She wasn't exploited. She was labeled unstable. That word mattered, because once a woman is framed as unstable, everything that happens next can be justified. Her breakdown wasn't sudden. It was documented in slow motion. But instead of intervention, the world chose spectacle. And this is the most disturbing part of her rise. Britney didn't collapse because she was weak. She collapsed because she was never allowed to stop. By the end of this phase, Britney Spears had achieved what millions dream of: fame, money, influence. But she had lost something far more valuable: agency. And that's where this story stops being about success and starts being about ownership. Because what followed wasn't help. It wasn't healing. It wasn't protection. It was a legal structure that would quietly strip a grown woman of her rights for over a decade, while the world kept applauding. In early 2008, the story changed. Not because Britney Spears suddenly collapsed, but because the system finally found a legal language to control her. After a very public breakdown, Britney was placed under a conservatorship, a legal arrangement usually reserved for the elderly or severely incapacitated individuals, people with advanced dementia, people who cannot understand reality. Britney Spears was 26 years old. Here's the first red flag most people missed. Conservatorships are meant to be temporary. Britney's lasted 13 years. Her father, Jamie Spears, was given control over her finances, her career, her medical treatment, her personal decisions. Britney herself, legally reduced to someone who could work but not decide. And this is where the narrative breaks apart if you think logically. If Britney was mentally incapable of managing her life, how was she capable of releasing multiple albums, going on world tours, performing hundreds of Vegas shows, earning hundreds of millions of dollars? The answer no one wanted to say out loud: she wasn't incapacitated, she was controlled. Under the conservatorship, Britney had no meaningful autonomy. She could not choose her own lawyer. She could not approve basic life decisions without permission. Even deeply personal choices, including whether she could have another child, were taken from her. This wasn't protection. This was ownership with a softer name. Behind the scenes, the system functioned smoothly. Britney kept performing. The money kept flowing. Lawyers, managers, and executives were paid. As long as productivity continued, no one asked hard questions. That's how legal abuse survives, quietly and profitably. When Britney resisted, the response was clinical, not compassionate. She was forced into therapy. Forced medication was used as leverage. Non-compliance meant isolation. This matters, so hear it clearly. Medical treatment was not used to heal her. It was used to discipline her. And the public? The public was told this was for her own good. For years, Britney tried to signal that something was wrong. Cryptic Instagram captions, repeating phrases, unnatural smiles. People mocked her, called her strange, unhinged. But trauma doesn't always scream. Sometimes it leaks. In 2019, something critical happened. Britney refused to perform. For the first time in years, she stopped complying. And suddenly, the mask slipped. Court documents revealed how little power she actually had. Fans began connecting dots that should have been obvious earlier. How could someone be too unstable to live freely, yet stable enough to be worked relentlessly? That contradiction ignited the hashtag Free Britney movement. At first, it was dismissed as conspiracy. Then it became impossible to ignore. In June 2021, Britney finally spoke in court. No performance, no pop persona, no rehearsed lines, just a woman stating facts.
The pop star was very open and revealed a lot of details. She also asked the judge to keep the record open because she wants the public and her fans to know what's happening.
She described being forced to work, forced to take medication, denied the right to remove an IUD despite wanting another child. And for the first time, the world heard what had been buried for over a decade. I want my life back.
She didn't know she could end the conservatorship. She wants her life back and doesn't think that she should be evaluated. She called it demoralizing.
Not fame, not money, not revenge. Life. That moment shattered the illusion that the conservatorship was benevolent. It exposed the truth most systems hide behind paperwork. Control is easiest to justify when you label someone unstable. In November 2021, the conservatorship was officially terminated. Britney Spears was legally free. But freedom doesn't erase damage. 13 years of monitored existence leaves scars that don't vanish with a court order. Trust is hard. Identity becomes fragile. Healing is slow and uneven. And here's the part people still avoid. This wasn't just about Britney's father. It wasn't just about one judge. It wasn't just about one broken family. It was about an industry and legal system that rewards compliance and punishes resistance. Britney's breakdown wasn't a failure of character. It was a rational response to prolonged control. She didn't lose it. She reacted. And that's the most dangerous lesson of all, because it applies far beyond celebrity culture. If you are valuable enough, productive enough, profitable enough, your humanity becomes negotiable. That's the real story. So when people ask, what happened to Britney Spears? They're asking the wrong question. The right one is, how many people are being worked, medicated, silenced, and controlled right now, just quietly enough that we don't notice? Britney survived the machine. Most people don't. If this story made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're not consuming it as entertainment. If you want more real investigations into power, control, and the systems behind success, subscribe, like, and comment truth. Because the most dangerous stories are the ones we're taught to ignore.